You guys don't need to worry about me getting revenge from Diddy. I've got 3 moves that make sure he'll never be able to come after me or my family. First, I personally reached out to the victims' legal teams. The real reason he's not getting out is those buried cases behind the scenes. I provided legal funding for 7 victims who had been silent for years and brought in the top criminal attorneys in the country. Second, I bought up every potential post-release business deal he had lined up. I planned this 2 years in advance, so by the time he got sentenced and still had hope of getting out, every partner had already cut ties with him. Third, I don't just have evidence, I've got backups. This is an entire minefield that's been buried for 20 years. I uncovered every secret from the last 30 years. With testimonies from the victims, we interviewed over a dozen people he tricked, threatened, or violated. You think that's harsh? No, he destroyed other people's lives for decades. I'm just making sure he spends a few extra years in prison for it. I'm not afraid of his people, not afraid of his threats. I know he's still in there fantasizing about a comeback, but the truth is, he's never coming back.
You Google his name, there's a rumor that pops up that he was Diddy's boy toy. Right?
Wait, so this is...
So Charlamagne said...
It's not true, but I told after he brought up this stuff with you, I said, you know what 50 gonna say when he meets you?
Oh, no, I don't know that was going on.
You know...
I can't wait to run into him again.
What you gonna say to him?
If he was playing with your in Miami.
Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress wearing people before him.
Definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress.
If you thought 50 Cent was done trolling the industry, think again, because this latest wave of reports has the internet acting like Kevin Hart just got dragged into a storm he never saw coming. According to the kind of explosive chatter that spreads fast online, 50 is once again at the center of a celebrity firestorm. And this time, Kevin's name is being pulled into a conversation fans did not expect to see blow up like this. Now, let's be clear. This is commentary on the rumors, reactions, and speculations swirling around social media, not a statement of confirmed fact. But the way people are talking, you would think Hollywood just cracked wide open. Fans
I want to thank you. Come here. Don't sit on the bed at night. No homo. No, just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close. But it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did it.
No. I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed. Shout out to him and what he did. I'm just gonna, if we can, let's just put the camera a little this way, just so we're not. I don't want my shot to even I don't want it to come close to the bed at all. I should look like he fresh off a goddamn plane. I should.
Fresh off the garden stage. That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, damn, pause, but like, that's how, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And
what the fuck did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this with me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're
are shocked. Timelines are in chaos, and everybody seems to be asking the same question. Why is Kevin Hart suddenly being mentioned in the same breath as old Diddy clips, resurfaced moments, and whispers about what was really going on behind closed doors? Because the second 50 Cent started posting, hinting, and letting the internet do what it does best, people instantly began connecting dots that may or may not have ever belonged together in the first place. And once that happened, emotions ran high. Some fans are saying this is just 50 being 50, stirring the pot for laughs and chaos. But others are convinced there is something deeper here, especially after old interviews, awkward moments, and strange interactions started getting clipped, reposted, and analyzed frame by frame. Suddenly, Kevin's usual funny guy image is being...
Oh, my brother.
How you
doing? Man. Yo, it's Groove here?
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to Fabulous. The only nigga that got the name that I want. It ain't get happy birthday to you.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah.
Let's take a shot for that, bro.
My mouth a little dry. Drink some more. Okay. But
no, it's your show today, Daddy.
The one thing I've been
you got questions?
Okay. Groove. Come here, bro.
Yeah, Fab. Fab told me to be low in fifth.
Hey, yo, Rastafari. Hey, yo.
Fab walked in.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I said.
pick it up. That's why I gotta pick it up from right there. This why I gotta pick it up from right there.
Look at that. Pick it up.
Man, big groove. Go ahead.
No, bro.
Kill him.
Look. Come tell the story. Bro, we're intoxicated.
Listen.
Oh, bro, we helping me build that beautiful, nice guy, Rastafari brand of yours, huh?
Good. I see, man. I'm walking in at that hallway right there.
Bag at Mr. Lee. Yeah, I love this drink.
Where you put my bag
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping for shit.
No. I
like that.
I'll be practicing.
Yeah, there you go. You got your notes.
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna go with that one.
Make a wish.
That one.
Just blow it out. It's your birthday every day.
Every day's your birthday on Drink Champs, goddammit. I'm in. Okay. We ain't fucking with that. I got notes now. I'm trying to get my life together. I want to taste the vegan Yo, cake. Fendi, what's going on?
No, but man, you ain't never really parked.
Just see where I look back on where I became.
Looked at through a completely different lens, and the comment sections are absolutely ruthless. What really sent people over the edge was the idea that Kevin might have known more than he ever let on, or at the very least, stayed way too quiet while certain things were happening around him. And now, with 50 Cent seemingly pushing the conversation without ever fully saying too much, fans think he hid everything. And if that's the case, this is no longer just celebrity gossip. This becomes image, loyalty, betrayal, and survival in an industry where one resurfaced clip can change everything overnight. The moment those clips started circulating again, everything shifted. People who were casually scrolling suddenly stopped, replayed, zoomed in, and began questioning things they had ignored for years. It wasn't just about what was said in those moments, it was about how it was said, the tone, the reactions, the body language, and the energy between Kevin Hart and Diddy that now felt different under the spotlight of speculation. Fans are shocked because what once looked like harmless jokes or awkward humor was now being reinterpreted as something else entirely. And once that switch happens in the audience's mind, it is almost impossible to undo. At the center of this growing storm is the way 50 Cent appears to be navigating the situation. He hasn't come out with a direct statement confirming anything, but according to online chatter, his posts, reactions, and subtle digs are doing enough to keep the conversation alive. People are saying he knows exactly what he's doing, that he understands how to spark curiosity without saying too much, and that is what makes this whole situation feel even more intense. It is not about loud accusations, it is about planting just enough doubt for the internet to do the rest. Kevin Hart, on the other hand, is suddenly being pulled into a narrative he did not create, yet now has to deal with. Those who support him argue that this is unfair, that old clips are being taken out of context, twisted, and used to build a story that may not reflect reality. But critics are not holding back. They are pointing out moments from interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and even podcast appearances where Kevin's interactions with Diddy seemed, in their eyes, questionable or at least unusual. What once passed as comedic timing is now being analyzed as potential evidence of something deeper, and that shift is where the real damage begins. One clip in particular keeps coming up in conversations, the one where laughter fills the room, but the undertone feels strange when viewed through today's lens. Fans keep replaying it, slowing it down, and debating what it really meant. Some say it is harmless, others insist it raises serious questions. This division among viewers is only adding fuel to the fire, because when audiences cannot agree, the debate grows louder, more emotional, and more personal. Emotions ran high across social media, with entire threads dedicated to breaking down every second of those interactions. Inside the industry, at least according to speculation, reactions are just as intense. Whispers suggest that some people are uncomfortable with how quickly the situation escalated, while others are quietly watching to see how Kevin responds. There are claims that conversations are happening behind closed doors, that management teams are discussing damage control strategies, and that public relations experts are preparing for multiple scenarios depending on how far this story goes. Whether or not those claims are true, the perception alone is enough to keep fans engaged. This is getting out of hand, one voice in the online discussion said, echoing what many supporters of Kevin feel. You all are taking jokes and turning them into something else. But another response quickly followed. Or maybe people are finally paying attention to what was always there. That back and forth captures the essence of the situation. It is not just about facts, it is about interpretation. And interpretation can be far more powerful than reality in a space driven by viral moments. What makes things even more complicated is the involvement of Diddy's name in all of this. Anytime his name appears in a headline or a trending topic, it brings with it layers of history, controversy, and speculation that instantly amplify whatever story is being told. So when fans start connecting Kevin to that narrative, even loosely, it changes the way people view him. Suddenly, his clean image, built over years of comedy and mainstream success, is being questioned in a way it never has before. There are also reports floating around that Kevin has been advised to stay quiet, at least for now. According to those claims, responding too quickly could make things worse, while silence might allow the conversation to fade on its own. But silence, as many fans are pointing out, can be interpreted in multiple ways. Some see it as a smart move, a way to avoid feeding the drama. Others see it as avoidance, as if there is something he does not want to address directly. That tension between speaking out and staying silent is creating another layer of suspense. Meanwhile, 50 Cent continues to move in a way that keeps people guessing. A post here, a reaction there, a comment that seems casual but carries weight when viewed in context. Fans believe he is orchestrating the entire conversation without ever fully stepping into it, and that level of control is what makes him such a powerful figure in moments like this. He knows how to let the audience build the narrative themselves, which often makes it spread faster and hit harder. As more clips resurface, the timeline of events becomes even more confusing. People are digging up interviews from years ago, comparing them to more recent appearances, and trying to piece together a story that may or may not exist. This kind of deep dive turns casual viewers into investigators, each one convinced they have found a new clue. And with every new clip, every new angle, the conversation grows. "Look at how he reacted right there," one fan pointed out in a widely shared post. "That's not normal." Another responded, "You're reading too much into it, it's just humor." But that disagreement is exactly what keeps the topic alive. As long as there are two sides arguing, the algorithm continues to push the content, bringing in more viewers who then form their own opinions. The pressure on Kevin is not just coming from fans. There is also speculation that brands and partners are paying close attention to how this unfolds. In an industry where public image is everything, even the suggestion of controversy can lead to serious consequences. Whether those concerns are justified or not, they add another layer of tension to an already complicated situation. At the same time, some voices are calling out the entire scenario as an example of how quickly things can spiral online. They argue that what started as a few resurfaced clips has now turned into a full-blown narrative that may not be grounded in reality. "This is what the internet does," one commentator said. "It takes pieces of information and builds a story around them." But even those who recognize that pattern cannot look away, because the drama itself is compelling. As the days pass, the story continues to evolve. New reactions emerge, new theories are formed, and the line between fact and speculation becomes harder to see. What remains clear is that this is no longer a small conversation. It has grown into something much bigger, something that is touching multiple parts of the entertainment world. And right in the middle of it all is Kevin Hart, a figure who built his career on making people laugh, now facing a situation where the laughter has been replaced by questions, debates, and intense scrutiny. Whether this storm passes quickly or leaves a lasting impact is something no one can predict yet. But one thing is certain, the conversation is far from over, and the way it continues to unfold is keeping everyone watching closely. By the time the second wave of reactions hit, the tone around Kevin had changed completely. At first, people treated the situation like another internet moment, the kind of celebrity drama that flares up for a day and disappears by the weekend. But this did not fade. Instead, it deepened. More creators began posting breakdowns, more fan pages started clipping old interviews, and suddenly it felt like every timeline had become a courtroom where Kevin's past interactions were being put on trial by public opinion. What made this phase more dangerous for him was not even the clips themselves, it was the narrative forming around them. Fans were no longer just asking whether certain moments looked strange. Now they were asking whether Kevin had spent years carefully protecting an image that no longer matched what people thought they were seeing. That is where the conversation stopped being funny and started becoming personal. According to social media speculation, one of the biggest turning points came after 50 Cent allegedly reacted to one of the resurfaced moments in a way that sent his followers into overdrive. He did not need to spell anything out. One sarcastic caption, one side-eye post, one carefully timed reaction was enough. Within minutes, people were screenshotting, reposting, and adding their own theories. The internet does not need a full explanation when it already smells drama, and in this case, the smell was everywhere. He knew exactly what he was doing, one fan wrote under a viral repost. 50 never says too much, but he says enough. That single comment ended up getting repeated over and over because it perfectly described why Kevin's team, if reports are to be believed, may have been getting increasingly nervous. When someone like 50 gets involved, the issue stops being a simple rumor and starts turning into a public spectacle. The family was left divided in the court of public opinion. Some longtime supporters of Kevin were insisting this was all nonsense, saying that he has always joked around in awkward ways and that people are rewriting history because controversy sells. Others, however, were not convinced. They were looking at the same clips and coming to a very different conclusion. They argued that it was not just one moment, not just one weird exchange, but a pattern of behavior that now looked suspicious because of everything else happening around Diddy's name. That is what made this whole thing explode even further. It was never just about Kevin by himself. It was about the company he was being linked to, the atmosphere around those old moments, and the growing belief among some fans that there was more going on behind the scenes than the public ever realized. Whether that belief was based on anything solid did not even matter anymore. Once people feel like they have discovered a hidden layer to a celebrity story, they hold on to it tightly. There are now claims floating around that people close to Kevin have been urging him to avoid making any off-the-cuff comments, especially in live interviews or casual appearances. Allegedly, the fear is that one joke made under pressure could be clipped out of context and turned into another headline. And honestly, that fear does not sound unreasonable, considering how aggressively every word is being examined right now. One source of online speculation even claimed that a recent event appearance had to be adjusted at the last minute because there were concerns about reporters asking questions related to the controversy. Again, none of that is confirmed, but in the world of celebrity drama, rumors about damage control often become part of the story themselves. Once fans believe someone is scrambling, they start looking for signs of panic everywhere. And that is exactly what started happening. People began pointing to Kevin's social media activity, or lack of it, as if every post and every silence held some hidden meaning. When he posted something unrelated, critics accused him of trying to distract. When he stayed quiet, they accused him of hiding. It became one of those impossible situations where no move could be made without someone twisting it into proof of guilt or fear. If he's innocent, why not just address it? One person asked in a trending discussion, but another shot back immediately, because addressing internet madness only feeds it. Both arguments made sense, and that is what made the situation so messy. There was no clear right move, only different risks. What also added heat to the situation was the resurfacing of older commentary from other entertainers, who had, over the years, made subtle jokes or side remarks about celebrity circles, private parties, and industry secrets. None of those comments directly named Kevin in the context now being discussed, but once fans started connecting everything together, old words took on new meaning. Suddenly, jokes from years ago were being treated like coded warnings, and casual remarks were being recast as hidden truths. The internet loves nothing more than the feeling that it has uncovered a secret before the mainstream catches up. That is why this story kept growing. It gave people the thrill of piecing together a puzzle, even if half the pieces did not
necessarily belong to the same box. And the more people participated, the stronger the illusion of certainty became. Through all of this, Kevin's biggest problem may not even be the clips themselves, but the damage to perception. Image in Hollywood is built slowly and can collapse quickly. For years, he has been positioned as the relatable funny guy, the hard-working comedian who crossed over into mainstream success without carrying the same level of scandal as some of his peers. That image helped him become a trusted face for studios, sponsors, and family-friendly audiences. But once audiences begin to feel like they do not fully know you, that trust can crack. And if there is one thing 50 Cent understands better than almost anyone in entertainment, it is how to target image. He knows that in the social media era, humiliation often lands harder than accusation. You do not always need to prove something in the court of law if you can make someone look uncomfortable in the court of public opinion. And according to the way fans are interpreting this entire rollout, that is exactly the lane he may have chosen. There is also a growing belief online that some of Kevin's peers are intentionally staying out of the conversation because nobody wants to get dragged into the blast radius. That silence from fellow celebrities has become a talking point of its own. Fans are asking why so few people have openly defended him if this is all supposedly harmless. Of course, there are plenty of possible explanations for that. Some stars avoid drama on principle. Others may simply not want to amplify rumors. But to suspicious fans, silence always looks strategic. Notice how nobody big is stepping in, one viral post read. That tells you everything. Whether it actually tells us anything is another question, but the perception was powerful enough to spread. And once that idea took hold, it made Kevin look even more isolated. At the same time, some people have begun to push back against the entire frenzy, arguing that this is exactly how public figures get swallowed by narratives that become bigger than the truth. They say the clips are being stripped of context, that old entertainment culture was full of strange humor and awkward banter, and that today's audiences are viewing yesterday's behavior through a much harsher and more suspicious lens. That is a fair point, but fairness does not usually win against virality.
The cruel part about internet storms like this is that they rarely need closure to leave damage behind. Sometimes the audience moves on before anything is ever clarified, and all that remains is a stain on reputation. People may forget the details, but they remember the feeling. They remember that a person's name was once tied to something uncomfortable, and that memory alone can follow them for years. Still, despite all the noise, Kevin has not completely lost control of the room. There are plenty of fans who remain loyal, plenty of people who still see this as overblown gossip, and plenty of viewers who are waiting before deciding what to believe. That support matters, but the longer the conversation continues, the harder it becomes to stop it from evolving into something even more dramatic. Because now the story is not just about resurfaced clips, it is about whether Kevin's carefully built image can survive being dragged through the kind of speculation that sticks to a person long after the hashtags die down. And with each passing day, that question is becoming harder for even his strongest supporters to ignore. The real shift happened when fans stopped looking at Kevin as just a comedian caught in someone else's chaos and started treating him like a possible missing piece in a much bigger Hollywood puzzle. Once that happened, the conversation stopped being casual entertainment and started feeling like an unraveling. Every old interview, every behind-the-scenes moment, every joke that once got a quick laugh was now being replayed with suspicion. What made it worse was how easily people online began to believe there had always been something hidden in plain sight. At first, some viewers brushed it off. They said this was another classic case of the internet taking harmless celebrity banter and turning it into a conspiracy. But then more clips started making the rounds, and with each one, the mood changed. It wasn't just about one awkward exchange anymore. It became about a pattern, or at least what fans believed looked like a pattern. That is the kind of thing that makes a story harder to contain, because once people think they see a repeated behavior, they stop treating it like coincidence. The family was left divided in the comment sections. One side kept defending Kevin, saying he has always had that exaggerated playful energy, and that trying to reinterpret old entertainment moments through a darker lens is unfair. But the other side was not buying that explanation anymore. They were saying the time in
Everything felt too strange, especially with Diddy's name already carrying so much baggage, and 50 Cent appearing to stir the pot at just the right moment. What really sent things into another level was the belief that 50 was not simply reacting for laughs. According to fans, he seemed to be moving with intent. Not loud, not reckless, just calculated. A repost here, a reaction there, a cryptic caption that made the audience do the work for him. And that is exactly why the pressure around Kevin kept building. If 50 had come out swinging with a direct accusation, the story might have been easier to dismiss as trolling, but subtlety is far more dangerous because it invites the audience to fill in the blanks themselves. He's not exposing him directly, one fan wrote under a trending post. He's letting us connect it. And that sentence summed up the whole atmosphere. It no longer felt like people were waiting for proof. They felt like they had already seen enough to form a conclusion, whether that conclusion was fair or not. According to online chatter, people around Kevin allegedly started getting more nervous as the clips gained traction. There were whispers that his camp was closely watching how the story was evolving and trying to figure out whether silence was helping or hurting. That is the impossible part of modern celebrity scandals. If you speak too early, you risk giving the rumor more oxygen. If you stay quiet too long, the silence starts looking like strategy, and strategy starts looking like fear. And that fear was becoming visible to fans everywhere, even if only through speculation. People started dissecting his recent appearances, his social media tone, even the energy in his interviews. If he looked serious, they called it stress. If he laughed too much, they called it deflection. Every move became evidence to somebody. And when that happens, it means the public has stopped watching you casually and started watching you like they are trying to catch you slip. Another reason this story kept growing was because it fit perfectly into the kind of celebrity narrative people love most, the fall of the safe star. Kevin has long been seen as one of the most polished and controlled personalities in entertainment. He built a brand on being relatable, ambitious, funny, and everywhere at once. He was not supposed to be in this kind of conversation. So the very fact that his name was now trending alongside this kind of speculation made the story feel even bigger than it might have if it involved someone already known for scandal. Fans are shocked not just because of what they think they are seeing, but because of who they think they are seeing it from. It always hits harder when the person at the center of the storm is someone audiences believed they had already figured out. And right now, a lot of viewers are acting like they no longer know which version of Kevin Hart is real. Some commentators online even began pulling in older industry moments, resurfacing vague jokes and side comments from years ago that had nothing directly to do with Kevin at the time. But in the current climate, everything suddenly felt connected. One offhand remark from a podcast, one weird red carpet clip, one behind-the-scenes story from years ago, and now it all gets folded into the same dramatic narrative. That is how internet lore is built, one half-related detail at a time.
The emotional stakes also started rising because the audience was no longer only debating what happened. They were debating what Kevin might have known, what he might have ignored, and whether his silence over the years was just professionalism or something more strategic. That is a dangerous line for any public figure, because once fans move from judging your actions to questioning your character, the recovery becomes much harder. "It's not always what you did," one viral commentator said. "Sometimes it's what people think you were willing to overlook." And that idea spread fast because it tapped into something bigger than just this one situation. It spoke to a broader distrust fans often have towards celebrity circles, especially when names, power, and access start overlapping in suspicious ways. Inside the rumor mill, there are now whispers that some of Kevin's business relationships may be watching this closely, not because anything has been proven, but because perception itself can become a liability. In entertainment, image is currency, and the moment your image becomes unstable, people start reassessing everything. Again, there is no confirmed fallout, but the speculation alone is enough to keep the story feeling dangerous. Meanwhile, the reactions from fans continue to grow more dramatic by the hour. Some are treating this like a full-blown exposure. Others are still insisting it is all being blown out of proportion by an internet that loves humiliation more than truth. But even those defending Kevin are often doing so with a kind of nervous energy.
Like they know the story has become too loud to fully ignore. What makes all of this even more intense is the sense that this may only be the beginning of the narrative, not the end of it. Every time a celebrity controversy reaches this stage, the audience begins expecting another reveal, another leak, another clip, another "wait, did you see this?" moment. And once that expectation takes hold, the story develops its own momentum. People do not just consume it anymore, they start hunting for what comes next. And right now, that hunt is focused directly on Kevin. Not because there is a confirmed scandal sitting in front of the public, but because the internet has decided there is enough smoke to keep staring at the room. Whether that smoke leads to anything real or simply fades into another exaggerated Hollywood rumor is still unclear, but the effect is already happening. Kevin's image is being tested in real time, and the more people talk, repost, speculate, and react, the harder it becomes to separate the man from the narrative now forming around him. That is the trap of these moments. You do not need a verdict for the damage to begin. Sometimes all it takes is a viral theory, a few resurfaced clips, and the right person nudging the audience toward a question they were never supposed to ask. And once that question is out there, it doesn't disappear just because nobody wants to answer it. What pushed this whole situation into even messier territory was when fans stopped focusing only on Kevin and started zooming out to the bigger social circle around him. Suddenly, people were no longer asking just whether his old moments with Diddy looked strange. Now they were asking what kind of environment he had been around for all these years, who else was present in those rooms, and how much of Hollywood's polished image has always depended on people pretending not to notice what was happening around them. Once a story reaches that point, it becomes bigger than one celebrity and starts feeling like a cultural exposure. That is exactly why the pressure around Kevin keeps getting heavier, because if he were just some random comedian with a few awkward clips, this would have burned out already. But Kevin Hart is not random. He is one of the most visible, bankable, carefully marketed stars of the last decade. And when someone with that level of mainstream trust gets pulled into rumor-heavy conversations, it hits differently. It makes audiences wonder how much of what they have been sold was ever real to begin with. Emotions ran high after one especially viral discussion thread began connecting old footage, red carpet moments, party appearances, and interview clips into a full timeline. Whether the timeline was fair or not did not matter. It looked convincing enough to the average viewer, and that is often all it takes. Once a theory is arranged neatly with enough visual proof around it, people start treating it like fact long before anyone checks whether the foundation actually holds up. "Why does this all look so bad now?" one fan posted. "Because maybe it always was." That comment got shared thousands of times, not because it proved anything, but because it captured the exact energy fueling the backlash. The audience was no longer giving celebrities the benefit of the doubt. They were approaching everything with suspicion, and Kevin was getting caught right in the middle of that mood shift. According to online speculation, this is also where things allegedly started getting uncomfortable behind the scenes. Whispers began circulating that certain people close to Kevin were frustrated by how casually some old clips had been handled over the years, believing that moments once dismissed as just jokes were now becoming a serious image problem. Whether or not those internal frustrations are real, the fact that fans can easily imagine them says a lot about how unstable the situation now feels. And then there is 50 Cent.
who remains the most unpredictable element in all of this, because the audience has convinced itself that he is not just reacting, he is strategically entertaining himself while watching the pressure build. That makes him almost impossible to counter. If Kevin responds directly, he risks looking defensive. If he ignores it, 50's silence plus smirk energy continues to dominate the narrative. It's the kind of trap that feels unfair, but also brutally effective. One thing people keep coming back to is how often 50 seems to know exactly where to apply pressure. Not necessarily by dropping some giant bombshell all at once, but by making people uncomfortable enough to keep asking questions. He understands humiliation, timing, and internet psychology better than most celebrities ever will. And in a story like this, where perception matters more than proof, that kind of instinct becomes a weapon. Fans are shocked by how quickly Kevin's polished image has gone from untouchable to fragile. For years, he
represented the kind of celebrity brand people considered safe. He could do family films, host events, pop up in commercials, and still feel accessible. But now that same image is being tested in a way that is deeply uncomfortable. Because once audiences suspect there may be a hidden side to a safe star, they start reevaluating everything. Suddenly, even old interviews that had nothing to do with Diddy were being revisited just to see if Kevin ever gave off an energy people had missed before. This is how internet pylons evolve. The original topic starts expanding outward until it swallows unrelated material, and before long, a person's entire public history gets dragged into one giant reinterpretation. That is what Kevin appears to be facing now, at least in the court of social media. Some fans are still trying to push back. They argue that this is exactly the kind of digital witch hunt that ruins nuance and punishes people for simply being in the wrong room at the wrong time. They say there is a huge difference between being around powerful people and actively knowing or hiding anything. And honestly, that is a valid distinction. But the internet is not known for rewarding nuance, especially when the story is juicy enough to keep people emotionally invested. "Y'all are acting like being in the same circle means guilt," one supporter wrote. But the response came fast and sharp. Sometimes being in the same circle is the whole problem. And that right there is the divide. One side sees guilt by association as lazy and dangerous. The other sees association itself as a red flag. As long as that divide exists, the conversation keeps feeding itself. The family was left divided among fans, bloggers, and even entertainment commentators who usually agree on everything. Some are calling this one of the biggest overreactions of the year. Others are saying it is only uncomfortable because people are finally willing to ask the questions they used to avoid. And once a celebrity gets trapped in that kind of split public opinion, it becomes almost impossible to rebuild a single, stable image. What is also making this harder for Kevin is that comedy as a shield is not working the way it used to. In another era, he might have been able to laugh this off, crack a few self-aware jokes, and let the moment pass. But now, audiences are much more suspicious of humor being used as a way to dodge accountability or redirect discomfort. So the very tool that built his career, his ability to joke through tension, may not be enough to save him here. There is also speculation that some of his inner circle may be urging him to stay away from unscripted environments altogether for the moment. No live interviews, no risky podcasts, no spontaneous clapbacks. Because in situations like this, one sentence can become the next week of content. And if Kevin says the wrong thing, even accidentally, it could completely reset the fire just when it looks like it might start cooling. Still, the biggest issue is not even whether he can survive this moment publicly. It's whether the audience has already emotionally decided who he is. Because once fans lock into a narrative, facts often come second. They don't just watch your next move, they interpret it through the version of you they have already chosen to believe. And right now, too many people seem fascinated by the idea that Kevin Hart may not be who they thought he was. That fascination is dangerous because it creates appetite, and appetite creates longevity. The more people want there to be another twist, the more likely they are to keep digging, keep reposting, keep watching every old clip for signs of something bigger. In other words, the story survives because the audience wants it to. So while none of this exists as a confirmed revelation, the emotional reality is still very real. Kevin's name is now attached to a conversation that feels dark, messy, and deeply uncomfortable. 50 Cent, whether intentionally or not, has helped create an atmosphere where every resurfaced moment feels loaded, every silence feels strategic, and every joke feels like it might be hiding something. And in Hollywood, once people start believing there is a hidden story behind the smile, they rarely stop at the first theory. They keep going until they either find something new or completely convince themselves they already did. And that is exactly where things stand now, in the most dangerous phase of all, the phase where the story no longer belongs to the people inside it. Once the public takes ownership of a narrative, it starts mutating on its own.
What began as resurfaced clips and suggestive reactions has now grown into something much larger, a full-scale online belief that Kevin Hart may have been far more entangled in a world of strange dynamics, hidden loyalties, and uncomfortable silence than anyone ever expected. Whether that belief is fair, exaggerated, or completely misplaced is almost beside
point now, because in the entertainment world, perception often lands first, and facts arrive too late to undo the damage. At this stage, Kevin is not just dealing with a rumor cycle, he is dealing with a transformation of public feeling. People are no longer simply entertained by the drama. They are emotionally invested in the possibility that they are witnessing a major image collapse in real time. And there is something especially intense about watching someone who spent years appearing disciplined, strategic, and impossible to embarrass suddenly become the center of such a messy, unpredictable storm. What keeps making this more explosive is that fans have now started treating every new silence as a clue. Every time Kevin does not address the topic directly, it gets framed as calculated. Every time he posts something unrelated, it gets interpreted as distraction. Every time he appears publicly and avoids the elephant in the room, the audience notices. And because the internet is already primed to see hidden meaning everywhere, even ordinary behavior now looks suspicious to people who have already decided there must be something bigger beneath the surface. He's acting like nothing happened because he knows saying anything will make it worse, one fan wrote. But another replied, or maybe he's acting like nothing happened because nothing actually happened. And that split remains the entire heartbeat of the controversy. One side sees strategic silence as survival. The other sees it as the oldest trick in celebrity crisis management. The result is a never-ending argument that keeps the topic alive even when no new information appears. At the same time, the emotional temperature around 50 Cent's role in all of this keeps rising. Supporters of his say he is doing what Hollywood insiders rarely do, making people uncomfortable enough to question the polished stories they have been fed for years. Critics, however, think he is weaponizing implication, letting the public destroy reputations while keeping his own hands technically clean. But that is also why his presence looms so large over the entire situation. He does not need to win an argument if he can keep the audience talking. And right now, the audience is doing far more than talking. They are building theories, stitching together clips, revisiting old moments, and acting like every smile, every pause, every laugh from the past might contain some hidden truth. That kind of obsessive rewatch culture can be brutal for anyone, but especially for someone like Kevin, whose career has been built so heavily on personality. When your brand is you, anything that makes the audience doubt the real you becomes a direct threat to everything you have built. Fans are shocked by how quickly the atmosphere around him has changed. What once felt like harmless nostalgia clips now feel loaded. What once looked like industry friendships now feel awkward. What once came off as funny now feels strange to people watching with suspicion in their eyes. And the hardest part for Kevin may be knowing that even if none of the darker assumptions are true, the emotional association is already happening. Once a person's image becomes attached to discomfort, that discomfort can linger long after the details fade. There is also a deeper fear some people are expressing online, and that is the fear that Hollywood has always operated on layers the public only sees once something cracks open. In that kind of environment, even innocent associations start to feel sinister once the spotlight hits them. And that is why this story has resonated so hard. It is not just about Kevin Hart or 50 Cent or Diddy. It taps into a much larger public suspicion that celebrity culture is built on too many secrets, too many smiles, and too many people pretending not to notice what's happening around them. That is why even those who do not fully believe the rumors are still watching, because the possibility itself feels dramatic enough to hold attention. And once people become emotionally hooked on possibility, they don't need certainty to stay invested. They only need tension, and this situation is overflowing with it. According to the tone of online conversations, what makes Kevin's position even more uncomfortable is that there may be no clean way to reset this. If he speaks, people will dissect every word. If he stays silent, they will keep writing their own version of the story. If 50 posts again, the cycle starts all over. If another old clip resurfaces, the conversation gains a second life. It is one of those celebrity crises where the problem is not just the headline, it's the mood shift that follows the headline everywhere. And mood shifts are powerful. They influence how people watch your interviews, how they hear your jokes, how they read your confidence, even how they interpret your success. Once suspicion enters the frame, the same behavior that once looked charming can suddenly look performative. Same ambition that once looked inspiring can suddenly look strategic. The same silence that once looked mature can suddenly look guilty. It changes everything. The family was left divided among fans who still want to believe Kevin is just another celebrity being unfairly dragged, and those who think this entire moment is forcing the public to confront things they were too willing to laugh off in the past. Both sides are emotionally dug in now, which means the story is unlikely to disappear quietly. Because when people stop debating what happened and start debating what kind of person someone really is, the conversation becomes far more difficult to shut down. For Kevin, this may end up being less about one viral moment and more about what happens after it. Can he recover the trust of the audience that now sees him differently? Can he outlast the speculation without feeding it? Can he reclaim his image before the internet permanently folds this chapter into his legacy? Those are the kinds of questions hovering over him now, and none of them come with easy answers. For 50, meanwhile, this entire saga only reinforces the reputation he has spent years building, the man who can walk into a messy situation with one post, one joke, one look, and somehow leave the entire internet in flames behind him. Whether people admire that or resent it, they cannot ignore it, and that may be the most powerful thing of all. So now the public waits, watches, replays, speculates, and argues, not because they know the truth, but because they are convinced there is something worth finding in the smoke. And in a celebrity world built on image, access, and illusion, sometimes that belief alone is enough to turn a few resurfaced clips into a full-blown cultural storm. So now here we are, with 50 Cent sitting back like he already knew exactly what would happen the second those old Diddy-related clips started making the rounds again, and Kevin Hart suddenly finding himself in the middle of one of the most uncomfortable waves of speculation his public image has faced in a long time. Again, this is all commentary on the reports, rumors, reactions, and online theories that have been spreading fast across social media. None of this is being presented here as confirmed fact. But if you have been watching how fans, blogs, and celebrity pages are reacting, then you already know this story has struck a nerve in a major way. Because at this point, it is not just about a few resurfaced moments. It is about trust, image, timing, and whether fans are now looking at Kevin Hart through a completely different lens than they ever did before. Some people think this is just another exaggerated internet spiral built off old jokes and awkward celebrity banter. Others are convinced there is something much deeper hidden behind the smiles, the silence, and the clips people once ignored. And that is exactly why this conversation refuses to die down. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the internet has been completely divided over whether 50 Cent simply trolled Kevin into a bad week or whether he cracked open a bigger conversation Kevin never wanted attached to his name. Either way, the fallout is messy, the questions are getting louder, and people are clearly not done talking about it yet. So now, I want to hear from you. Do you think 50 Cent really destroyed Kevin Hart's image with this situation, or do you think the internet is reaching and blowing everything way out of proportion? Do you believe Kevin is just being unfairly dragged into the Diddy controversy, or do you think fans are finally paying attention to things that were always hiding in plain sight? Drop your opinion in the comments right now, because I already know this one is going to split the room. And if you want more wild celebrity breakdowns, messy Hollywood drama, shocking fan theories, and viral entertainment stories just like this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Because if this story gets even crazier, you already know we are going to be right here talking about all of it.